There you are.
Okay. Sorry, it's not. I lost my mouse here. Okay. Let me ask a question. Can I have a thing on my screen that says this is being recorded, and I can't dismiss it. Oh,
Okay, it should disappear after a few seconds, I guess.
Okay. So, hey, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the invite. Thanks for a chance to talk to you all. My name is Micah Bly. I want to talk about my game, Lair of the Lich King, which is a game I've been working on for a while. But kind of what I want to go through today is a little very quick intro of me, and then talk about how to, what the Lich King is, and I made it, and some of the challenges there, and what's the future plans there. And we'll do a really quick demo too as well. So kind of de rigueur the thing of me, how I got into computing. So we started my family with a Timex Sinclair 1000, which was a ZX81, but we thought it was super cool because we could see ourselves type on the TV. My brother got a 64. I got a 128 sometime after that. Loved the 128, stayed with it for long time. Eventually got a Amiga 500, and ended up with probably one of my favorite computers ever, the Amiga 3000, which unfortunately I sold and had to rebuy at a very expensive price. But that's the way it goes. Back then, computers cost real money. So newer these days, now those are all retro computers. What I like to do with them is mostly programming. So I spend a lot of time doing mostly C and assembly. I like to work on the 128s. There's so many people do it for a 64. I don't even want to go near it. It's just like, and they're all way better than me, so that's fine. I do like programming for the B series because no one knows what it is, and I have a dream someday of getting my B working and having some software on it, something fun. I like Mac OS 6, the first one, just because first graphic environment thing for home computers, really. It's not much fun to program on, though. I kind of hate programming for it because of that whole memory manager thing. I have my Amiga still. I like to do Amiga. I don't do some Amiga DOS. I'm saying Amiga DOS, but whatever, Amiga OS, whatever we're calling it these days. And recently I like these retro computers, the Phoenix series. I've got a couple of them, and hopefully another one coming. I also just like to, I suppose as we all do, I like to play with the old stuff. So got a bunch of computers, like to play with them, fix them up when I can. Unfortunately, I have a job, so I don't get to do that much, but so I would like to, I got an X Cube last year at a VCF in the auction, but it's got water damage. We'll probably never run, but you never know, it's worth a shot. And then when I have some spare time, I help my friend. There's a friend of mine who's got a computer store here. He's had a computer shop forever. He was a Commodore repair tech. I actually bought stuff back from him in the day, and he was still there. He's had to move a few times. He's got a warehouse full of mostly Commodore stuff. So I help him, me and another guy help him, clean it up, find stuff, test it out. He gets some of it up on eBay, but this picture is probably from 5 years ago. And I'm sure we have 90% of that stuff is still there. So it's literally a warehouse, and it's hard to get rid of it all. So Lair of the Lich King. This was basically my 2020 COVID project. I wanted to make a 128 game. I wanted to be 80 columns because, of course, there's not very many people bother for the 128 native stuff at all. Last few years, there's actually some pretty cool stuff, of course, but back then there wasn't that much at all. It is kind of a ode to text-based games, and I don't mean like Zork or Infocom. I mean, back really in the start of gaming, late 70s, like Rogue, this game Rogue, which really was the first graphical adventure, quote unquote. Games like that were of course common because there was no graphics really, and this is kind of, I had a lot of fun playing Rogue on my dad's PC back in the day, so this was my kind of version of that. Roguelikes they're Dungeons and Dragons type rules. You basically fight your way down dungeons, get to the bottom, find the idol or whatever the thing is, and then fight your way back out and try to get out. They're kind of the, you can build up armor and experience and spells and stuff like that as you go. And the monsters get harder and harder as you go. The two kind of defining characters of roguelikes are that if you die, you're done. There's no restart. I mean, you just start over from level 0. So they're hard and they can take a long time. And two, the dungeons are all auto-generated. So unlike Temple of Apshai or something where it's the same map all the time, these ones you need to, they're generated every time. So it gives you new playability in theory as you go. No game is the same. So I got about 90% done with that. And then I got distracted and started working on a kind of a workbench replacement for the Amiga, which of course I never finished that either. But then January 2022, I heard about these Phoenix Retro Systems things and kind of fell in love with it and got really excited about it. And I ordered an A2560. That's basically a 6840 in a Amiga 600 like case. I also got a used C256, which is a 6502 but 65816. So this kind of semi 16-bitty one that's in the Apple II GS and Mega 65, and well, C65 would have been in it. This kind of a alternate vision for what a future Commodore might have been. It's got a lot of sound chips, including SIDs, 2 SIDs, some Yamaha stuff. So I reworked Lich King to run on that, and that took a few months, but I got that up in September, and then promptly broke my C256. Probably you can see it out on the bench there. Probably not the right way to do it, but that was my fault. But that's okay, because that same month I went to Vintage Computer Festival in Chicago, and they had someone let me play with their pet, and they had a pet 4032 out there, and I don't think I'd ever actually played with a real pet, and I just fell in love with the green screen thing and all-in-one computer. Loved it. I was so excited. I went home and like, okay, I'm going to make Lich King work for pet. And I just started tossing out features left and right because you have to cut down for 32K. It's got no custom graphics. It's got no colors. It's slow, 40 columns instead of 80. So basically not a complete rewrite, but, I just was cutting us up and, well, didn't work, failed miserably, total failure. But then having done all that work, I was like, well, what do we have in Commodore land that's got 80 columns? It's got maybe no color because I had all that pet stuff I did, and no user base. Well, that's a Commodore 700. So Commodore 700 is got a bunch of different names. It's called the B series. Over here, they're called the B128, B256 mostly. In Europe, they were CBM 710, 720s. I think there's a 600. I don't know if the 600 ever went on sale in Europe. This was meant to come out in about 82, about same time limit as a 64. It was going to be the 64 was going to be the home computer, and this was going to be the replacement for the PET in the business market for Commodore. But unfortunately, they had a lot of problems with it, a lot of hardware problems, a lot of software bugs. Never quite, and it just like missed the boat basically. And IBM PC came in, and Commodore basically just gave up before even launching it. And it's got a really cool story of this. They sold it to a reseller that they gave them the whole warehouses over to this place, and they sold them in the US anyway. But there was a really interesting kind of a users group in Chicago that basically kind of blackmailed and cajoled Commodore and other people to make new software for it. Not Commodore, but they got like source code out of Commodore, which is pretty amazing. And kept it going for like years. So it's a pretty cool story in itself, but it's also a beautiful computer. Probably, arguably Commodore's best looking computer. So that leads us to this one. So let's do a quick demo of Lich King on the emulated B series. I'm gonna run it in Vice because that's, as far as I know, the only emulator there is. And I have Amber because I like Amber, and a couple different graphic modes on the B machines. You've got the kind of high boys, the ones with the built-in monitor have a 9x14 graphic matrix, character matrix, and the low profile ones have an 8x8, so they'll look a little different. There's some really unfortunate decisions Commodore made about this computer. So sometimes this one is in uppercase because if you're in lowercase, you get all these lines between all your Petsky characters. So Lich King is for the pet. For the B128 is it's obviously all custom. Normal characters and do Petsky graphics. For splash screens and enter screens and stuff where possible, would just use the regular Petsky characters. So some name. Each level, as it loads, it gives you a little text for flavor. It's basically just to keep you reading while it's creating the dungeon, because it needs some time to churn through and generate the dungeons. But they are, they're different every level, and you sometimes they're game hints and some stuff. So here's a pretty typical starting screen though. We've got 3 lines of status across the bottom, which is, going to tell you what happened. If anyone's ever played a rogue or any roguelike, it should be fairly similar, though it is different. And then the lower right is some, stats about you. And here's where the lack of custom character graphics really hurts, because you have to basically memorize what those things mean. Luckily there's a heart symbol, so that's your hit points, but the rest of those you're on your own to memorize. There's a manual and a quick start guide, of course. In a rogue, traditional character is a little heart sign. An @ sign. So that's the hero. You run across, you can see different things. If you just run over them, you pick it up. So that's a potion. I can drink the potion if I want to. Oh, well, it was poison, so now I'm sure I'm nearly dead. There are rooms connected by corridors. There's some gold. You basically wander on in these dungeons trying to find stuff and fight monsters. You want to collect money because there is, oops, that was a monster I killed really easily. There's a guy called the Tinker, who's basically like a traveling salesman. Ooh, plate armor. That's like the best armor you can get. That's super rare. Right, so you have this, basically he's like a little traveling shop, and you can trade stuff to him, sell stuff to him for half price, or buy some for double price. If I want to buy the greatsword, which is a really awesome weapon, it's random what he has every time, so he doesn't always have what you want. He'll always buy anything you have, but you can't always afford to buy what he's got. So that's the kind of the game. Oops. The first level of the monsters are all super easy to kill. That's intentional, so you can get a feel for the game on the first level before you get into the real one. Oh, I can't see because there's things in the way. Anyway, let me move that slightly. I just want to get to the next layer there, and then we'll stop. So sorry, that's a monster coming around. But just to go on, so again, here's the notice boards coming up, and they're a little different between each one. I've also, because I like ASCII, I've captured some kind of classic ASCII art and tried to embed that in different places. Again, with the B128 character set, it doesn't have a backslash, for example. So this one looks pretty awful, but works different on different things. And here you can see that example of the text, the spaces between the lines. That's what lowercase mode is like on these computers for whatever reason. Commodore thought that would be good. Anyway, that's the quick demo of the game. Go back and present here. So this game is mostly C. There's some assembly mostly for some memory routines, or a place where I had time and I needed to cut down memory. So I did redo some things in C. And then of course on the C128, there's a lot of everything that has to do with the video display chip, the VDC is in assembly, just because it works better, essentially. For environment, I do this all. I don't use fancy Microsoft Visual Studio code or anything like that. For one thing, I'm on a Mac, although Visual Studio Code, of course, works fine on a Mac. But there's no one has done a great integration, for example, for a C128 or a B128, as far as I know. So I just do it in a text editor, BB edit. It's kind of king of Max text editors, has been around since 1980, I don't know, 86, 87, something like that. So it's also old. The Petsky graphics, I use Level, which is just pretty awesome. I hope the guy updates it though. And then I maintain now 3 different code bases. So I got one for the C128, one for the B128, one for the F256, and I have a 4th older one, which is not updated anymore, for the C256 and the A2560. I'll probably split those if I ever do anything with those in the future. So, you know, one of the challenges here is you make a fix one place, you got to go make it in the other places, and they're mostly the same code, but, you know, there's different enough. You can imagine some have color, some don't. And they all have different memory structures. So kind of challenges here. The number one thing is memory. Memory is where I spend almost all my time. I do a lot of things, mapping of each of these systems. So down to the byte often. I've got lots of maps, and I experiment with, is this byte going to be safe? Is the kernel going to muck with this thing during an interrupt, or can I stash something there? I use a lot of overlays because I think on the 120, on the C128, there's only about, I want to say it's about 31K of contiguous usable memory for CC65. So you got to find it elsewhere. And even on the B128, there's a bigger chunk of memory, but you know, 64K is not enough. So that's mostly what I do. And if I have time, sometimes, again, I really need space, I'll go and convert some C routine into a assembly room routine to make it faster, but that does make it harder to maintain. And for me anyway, it's slower to write. Again, keeping the code bases is in sync is a challenge. Honestly, it's super close. I mean, it's basically done. So the number one challenge I have right now is basically finding someplace that will make me a good box for the game, because I would like this to be an experience. We have a good box and a good manual and all that. And I thought it would be super simple just to, like, this is my Vulcan box. You know, it's just a plain box and it had a nice color wrapper around it. I thought this would be super simple. Turns out, no, people don't make generic boxes. You know, that, and I'm looking at custom printing ones, and places turn me down. I got a couple in India that'll do it, but I think the paper is super thin. So anyway, that's the current challenge. Launch wise, if you're interested in playing, right now there's public betas for both the Phoenix F56 and the B128 and the C128. The B128 and C128 are both on forums at vcffed.org. So if you just go to the Commodore forum there, you'll see there's a thread for each of them with links. Always go to the bottom though, because you can't edit those, and I always put the latest one at the bottom. Whatever the last part will be the most recent build. The demo has 3 levels only, and then it restarts. So if you're interested and you really want to test and you'd like to go further, let me know. I'll shoot you a full copy. It would be great to have some more testers that go all the way. Launch wise, I'm hoping to do this in kind of September-ish with VCF Midwest, the Vintage Computer Festival Midwest in Chicago, which is in the middle of September. So I'm gonna try to get a table there, but could be available before then. I'm just, I got to get a commercial website or whatever, a commerce website that'll take a credit card, and I got to get that box solved. So there's a couple of requirements there just to be aware of. If you are on a 128, you do need to have a 64K VDC, not a 16K one. That could be a future enhancement, but it'd be a little slow. I am using all that 64K. I need an 80 column monitor, of course. It uses the 40 column space for stashing stuff, of course. Disk 1571 or 1581 or 1581 compatible, like the FNX 1591 would work fine. And on a B128, just be careful. Some of the testers have found problems with, like, what is it, SD to PET or PET to SD is not compatible enough, I guess, timing wise. But there's another one which PET Disk Plus, maybe, I can't remember. I don't have it, which seems to do really well. Or an 8050 would, of course, work. And I don't know what it's going to cost yet. This is very much a DIY thing. So, first time for me, and we'll see how much shipping and stuff like that costs. This is the packaging design. If I ever find someone to do it, It could be a slip-on cover, it could be a full cover thing. It's got a manual. The manual's got, you know, nice artwork in there. Describes pretty well what's going on in the game. Then there's a quick start guide there with a keyboard thing for yours. It comes with a disc. It'll be a 5.25 or a 3.5, whatever you want. Well, I mean, I'm not going to give you a 3.5 for a B128. That wouldn't make any sense. And a registration card and maybe a USB stick. I've got an angle on one with a skull shape, so hopefully we'll be able to pull that off. And if, you know, you'll buy one, you'll get all 3 versions or all 4 or whatever there is at the time. But not disc-wise, you'll just get the USB stick with all. And then I don't know what's next. I'll probably just open source it and be done with it, because it would be fun to work on something else. And there's only so much time in life until you retire, I suppose. That's probably most likely, but I don't know if people are interested. It might be fun to do it for another computer, like maybe the A2560 or a Mac Plus, although I don't know, a lot of good Mac games. Maybe Amiga, maybe next if I ever get that beastie over there working, maybe an Apple III if I can find one, but I don't know much about it, but I think that just has like an 8K window. That could be hard. So that's it for me and Lair the Lich King. Does anybody have any questions?
Many thanks. Mike. Actually, I had some questions, but then you weren't answering them as you were speaking. I was going to ask where can we download it, but then you explained that it's. By the way, the link that you gave there is that the link where is maybe that I didn't get it, the public beta is available from there, or is it just a form where you can ask for it, or how does that work?
No, it's on there, right? So
Okay.
I put the demo version, right? And if anyone wants to play more, just shoot me an email or something, or contact me on there or someplace, wherever. I'll shoot you the full version on it.
And there you have also all the versions, or is it only the one for the B2, or which one is that?
Yeah, there's one thread for the B series, and there's one thread for the C128.
Okay,
and then if
nice.
you want to, if you're on Phoenix Land, I mean, I'm on the Discord there, so, and it's available there if you're in the Phoenixes.
Okay.
Phoenixes.
Yeah. I like your comment about every byte counts. I think sometimes when you are with young developers today, you have to explain them that some decades ago it was like you had to really be very cautious about every single line of code or something, because now they are just so used to have whatever resources are available, and everything is more or less so easy.
No, I honestly don't think anyone thinks about RAM size anymore at all. I mean, we use these frameworks, in modern computer. They're just like enormous, the framework, right? And that's before you've written a line of code.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is challenging though, but it's fun,
I don't know if amongst the attendees here, is there anybody with questions? There's one on the Facebook page. Anybody? Seems no. Let me see the chat, but I don't see any notifications in the chat neither. No. Okay, but then maybe I go with another one. What is then? So you said now it will be okay. It's in beta review, and then it will be available later, commercially, etc. How do you do for Europe, for example? Do you have like a distributor in Europe, or?
Well, I mean, when I say this is do it yourself, I mean, like, I got nothing on this one. So this is going to be me literally putting these together. Well, I am going to get the box printed because I can't do that, right? That's just impossible. But I have a source for discs. I don't know. When I showed you my friend Ray's shop, I mean, one of the things, he's got thousands of floppies in there. So the discs are not a problem. I mean, I'm going to be copying myself. So his advice, by the way, was he sells stuff on eBay. And he's like, if you sell it on eBay, it'll be cheaper internationally. If you sell for Europeans, it should be a lot cheaper, because apparently eBay, like it bunches them all up and ships them over in a huge container or something. And so the shipping costs to Europe are a lot cheaper through eBay than it would be if I just took it to the post office. But
I was more thinking about the toll. When you buy something in the US, maybe it costs five euros or something, and then if it goes through the custom, it may be that they ask you 20 euros or something. So sometimes it's just completely crazy, depending. And you don't know actually what is the source of these events. It's like. It can really depend. You can buy something that costs 3 euros and then you don't get any additional custom, and then once in a while, for some reason, I don't know, really depending on the guy at the custom, maybe, then they put something in addition, an extra charge, and then they just keep it until you pay it, right? So it can be really tricky. So that's why I was asking if there was any plan to have the disc, because of course downloading or something, if you do it like electronically, that is easy to buy from another continent. But at the moment you want to start sending discs, maybe it could be better to have someone actually in Europe.
Well, I'm totally open to that. If anyone knows someone, let me know. I don't care. I mean, this is not like a money-making opportunity, to be clear.
No, I can imagine.
This is like a big money pit to which to pour money in. So if someone wants to, manage this stuff in Europe, God bless them. I'd totally be happy to work with them. And they can take every ounce of profit that is possible out of here. I should have mentioned too, I think at the end, once I get through these boxes, I would like to I'll just, like I said, I'll probably open source it, but I'll probably also just put it up in an electronic download for $2 or something, whatever. But I mean, for me, I wanted to create like an old school experience where you had a game, you actually got physical stuff. It's got kind of fun stuff in it. That's what I was going for with it. So that's an important part to me. But once some early period where those are gone, or have a chance to sell, then I'll just put it up on for download or something. Hopefully that'll take care of that, the customs guy. But every customs agent does need a very good random number generator to know which packages they should pick out and like randomly hold for like 6 weeks or something with no reason. So they need coding too.
I see a question from Gennaro. Actually, if you can later on put the link as well in the chat so that it can be, because now I think it has to be retyped from the screen.
Yep.
That's the only question I see. Good. Let me just check on the Facebook page. No, I see. Okay. But I would say then many thanks. If there are more questions, like usual, people can put them in the chat, and if you stay around, then you can maybe answer them there. I will stop the recording now.